about to experience with the gentleman I'm about to introduce to you. Folks, you literally have an individual who's been in this space for over 25 plus years. He has a PhD in finance and economics. As a matter of fact, it's actually the first African American to receive his PhD in finance and economics from the University of Florida. And that was 25 years ago. He's what I call the trifecta. He's an academician. He's been a consultant and a CFO. And here's why we're so excited about knowing why we call our movement the BYB Beyond Bank. His actual dissertation was in banks, mergers, and acquisitions. So it's if anybody who has the liberty and the understanding on how to communicate this message across the board in every aspect of your financial pie. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn the call over to my dear friend, my business partner, our success coach for this evening. I talk with the finance doctor, your RX for Forex. So without that further ado, I'm going to turn the call over to my dear friend, hailing from Tampa, Florida, none other than the Dr. Craig Bythewood. Dr. Bythewood, are you on the line?
Yes, Mr. Gerald D. Rogers, I am. And I really appreciate your introduction. I really appreciate Ms. Dyer for once again another cutting edge training. And I hope you all realize that she just took us to another dimension of our trading. So I want to definitely give her a shout out. And most importantly, I want to give an air of appreciation to each one of you, to the rectangles that are appearing before me. I always get particularly excited when I see these rectangles because to me, each one of you represents a group of individuals who may not be in this Zoom call at this moment. Each one of you represents a family, a community, a group of co-workers, a group of friends, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters. So literally what you're doing right now is you're carrying the torch for a group of individuals who have yet to be exposed to this. And one of the things that I found very interesting that was stated this weekend at the I Am convention in Dallas, Texas, was that only about 15% of the population is aware that they can trade in foreign exchange. So I look at that as a tremendous opportunity. That means that there's 85% of the world that we can go to and we can share this information. We can spread this gospel. And where will it start? It starts with the individuals that are on this call, these rectangles that I'm looking at right now. So I thank you for being present, for showing up. One of the things that I've done throughout my career as a consultant is I study different areas of business. And I do that because I feel that when I go into an organization, I have more value when I understand how different functions look at what they do so that I can provide comprehensive answers to the individuals that I consult for. So one of the areas that I spend a lot of time looking at is human resources. Human resources. Just today, I'm teaching a class in Vietnam in a couple of weeks, and I'll be there for 2 weeks. And when one of my students from Vietnam sent me an email and said, Dr. B, I need help with this question about human capital management because that's not finance. And I laughed and I said, really? Labor, employees, that represents the largest amount of cost for any firm. So how's that not finance? That's absolutely finance because as a business owner, and please hear me when I tell you that this tangent is relevant to you because we're developing this skill so that we can become entrepreneurial in the way in which we do what we do. So we need to understand that as we become our own bank, that we may get to the point where we have to hire employees. So my comment to this Vietnamese student was, human capital management is absolutely finance because it's your biggest expenditure. And you've got to look at the value that you're getting from them to determine whether or not you're making good financial decisions. How many should you hire? What should you pay? So I said all that to say this. In studying the human resources literature, there's a statistic that was of interest to me that I share often. And that statistic is a 20-year study was done where they literally looked at companies around the globe for 20 years. And they asked this question: supervisors, hiring managers, bosses, CEOs, leaders in the company, what is the number one attribute that you look at to determine whether or not an employee is doing well? What is the number one variable that you deem to be important when you're determining who gets the promotion? The number one variable that companies look at to determine whether or not you are being a good employee is attendance. Being there, being present, showing up. So I said all of that to say this: I recognize that you are literally a cutting edge representation of your group because you're present, because you've attended. And many of you have decided to be here after being on a 5 a.m. call. And you've decided to be here after being on a 9 a.m. call. And now you're here again to listen to this tools training and now to hear a talk with the finance doctor. Your RX for Forex. Why do we call it that? Because we recognize that there's some prescriptions that can be written to help us understand our financial situation to a higher degree, to help us understand that we have a very unique opportunity right here. Because as Mr. Rogers stated, we're literally talking to someone who has been exposed to this information for 25 years. So over the last 25 years, you all have been doing some very important things. But it just so happens that what I was doing was being exposed to some material which can help you with two things. Number one, in your quest to be your own bank. And number two, to economically empower your household to understand all of the components of the personal financial pie so that you can ask the questions that you need to ask to put yourself in the best position to manage your money, to have a mindset about money, to have a relationship about money. Ms. Dyer said earlier, you want to have a relationship with the market. She gave the analogy of having a relationship with someone and making sure that you're listening to them, because she recognized that sometimes in the heat of emotion, we listen to respond instead of listening to listen. That's a really good point. And as a life coach, I've actually done a technique called the mirroring technique, where if two individuals are having trouble listening to each other because they're so emotionally charged and ready to answer, the mirroring technique works like this. You have someone say something. Then when they finish talking, the other person has to mirror back what was said. Then the person that said the original statement has to give them credence that, yes, that's what I said. If they don't get it right, then they have to do it again until they got the statement right. Then the person who gets the statement right can now say what they want to say. Then when that person speaks, then the next person has to mirror what they say. When I tell you this mirroring techniques takes all of the emotional charge out of it, because 8 times out of 10, the person listening gets the statement wrong. Why? Because they're so ready to say what they have to say. This is a technique that I'm lending you, and I'm telling you it works. Use it with your children when they have an issue. But more importantly, use it when you have an emotional situation or you have an emotionally charged topic. The mirroring techniques really work. So I said all that to say this. Just as Ms. Dyer made that point to say that we need to have a relationship with our market, she's right. But we also need to have a relationship with money. Money is not a tool. Money is not a currency. Money is an energy. If you think about it, just for a second, just pause. And think about how your relationship has been with money over the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You'll probably recognize some patterns. If money is your friend, it'll do like your other friends. It'll always find you and want to hang out. If money makes you tense, people don't like being around tense people. Oh, no, they're too tense. Oh, that energy's too heavy. So you really need to think about the relationship that you have with money because it makes a difference. And let me show you how my comment about having a relationship with money relates to something that happened during the training call. Someone said, I'm confused. And Mr. Rogers chimed in and suggested that you seek clarity instead. Let me talk a little bit about why that's a very important concept. So I'll share this by sharing with you something from my life, snatched from the headlines of my life. For 27 years, I have been a professor. Yes, I started teaching 2 years before I graduated. So I've been teaching classes for 27 years. And one of the things that I noticed is that confusion, just like money, is an energy. And I've noticed that if someone says to me in a classroom setting, I'm confused, when I give them the answer, it takes them a while to receive it because the energy of confusion is stronger than whatever answer I'm providing. So one of the things that I do in my on-ground classes, if you've ever taken a class with Dr. B, when you walk in there the first day, it says on the board, it has the word confusion, and then it has one of those circles with an X through it that says, you're not allowed to say that. I call it the C word. And the reason why I call it the C word, the reason why I disallow them from saying it is because I recognize that confusion is an energy. And when you're wearing confusion energy, it doesn't matter what's said. It doesn't matter what situation is going. So think about it. Say the word confusion and watch how it makes your shoulders tight. Confusion, confusion, confusion. Tightens your shoulders up. Watch how light you feel when you say this word, clarity, understanding. So it's not about Mr. Rogers trying to dictate to you what you should say. What it's about is him understanding the fact that there's an extreme and a distinct difference between the energy of being confused and the energy of wanting to understand. Oh, but they're two sides of the same thing. No, they're not. We've said oftentimes on this call, and we'll say it again in this moment, what you resist will persist. What you resist will persist. So when you push against something, you're literally bringing it into your experience. What happens when you're around a dog and you're scared? The dog attacks because that fear provides a chemical message to the animal, and it makes it attack. If you're cool with the dog and you're happy and cool, then he'll respond the same way. You ever notice babies do that? Babies respond to your energy. If a baby is crying and you get tense and try to calm the baby down, the baby cries more because it's feeding off of your energy. But when you're calm and you say, okay, come here, it's okay, that baby calms right on down. You ever seen a toddler fall? A toddler falls and looks at your reaction. If you say, oh my God, then they're going to start crying. But if you say, it's okay, get up, shake it off, you're good, they do exactly that. So what I'm saying to you is the dog, the baby, the toddler, they're just examples of the way in which energy works. So when you have a desire to understand something and you walk in the energy of understanding and wanting clarity, guess what you get? Understanding and clarity. But if instead you walk in the energy of being confused and not understanding, what do you get? You get more confusion and understanding. Hear me, I deal with this every single day. And every time a student calls me or emails me and they use the word confused, and hear me, they'll put confused in the email 4 or 5 times. And I know that when I talk to that person or when I respond, we're going to have to go several rounds because the energy of confusion is stronger than the knowledge that they're seeking. So really take that seriously, because not only is this about confusion, it's about other ways in our life where we may be talking about what we don't want and not realizing it. Dr. Craig Bythewood, AKA Dr. B, AKA the finance doctor, is also a girls basketball coach. And one of the things that I do when I coach travel basketball on the 5th grade level, that's the earliest in which my organization coaches basketball, is girls like to get the ball and just run. So it's important to me to let them understand I've got to teach you how to play basketball without traveling. So the first thing I teach those little girls is how to take their little foot and plant it in the ground. And I make them point at it. I say, you see that foot right there? That foot is your pivot foot. And they all say, what kind of foot is that? Pivot foot. What foot is that? Pivot foot. I teach them the pivot foot. Did y'all like my impersonation of a 5th grade girl? I make them point to the pivot foot and I say, ladies, this is the foot that you use to change direction. When you want to go that way, use your pivot foot. When you want to go that way, use your pivot foot. When you want to go that way, use your pivot foot. What are you saying, finance doctor? Why are we talking about 5th grade basketball? Because this is the concept that we can use to make sure that we're walking in clarity and understanding rather than walking in confusion. When you find yourself saying or thinking or operating in a vibration of what you don't want, it's cool. You have to identify what you don't want in order to identify what you want. Let me say it again. You have to identify what you don't want in order to identify what you want. How would you know that you want cold unless you've experienced hot? How would you know that you want hot if you haven't experienced cold? So literally, I get the fact that we have to first identify what we don't want. The issue is, humans, we identify it and we stay there. We keep talking about it. We keep repeating it. We keep using all of this heavy language and this heavy energy. And guess what? We stay there. But we've got to learn to manage energy the way a 5th grade girl plays basketball. We've got to learn how to pivot. We've got to learn how to change direction. So the moment you feel yourself saying something, thinking something with a no in it, with a not, heavy energy, I'm confused, I don't get it, I don't understand, I don't know how this is going to do, this may happen, what if this happens? Anytime you hear yourself speaking in a language, thinking and speaking in a language that you do not want, just pivot. Just pivot. In fact, how about I give you a technique that you can use right now? Because once I share this with you, you hear me, but you kind of go back into your normal situation. And here's a way to trick yourself into pivoting more often. The human brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. The human brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. So this is a technique called 2 for 1. 2 for 1. Anytime you catch yourself saying or thinking anything with a no in it, anything that represents what you don't want. Anytime you catch yourself saying that, thinking that, immediately respond with 2 positive statements. For example, if you say to yourself, I might miss my flight, you come back and say, I'm going to make my flight, I'm going to make my flight. If you say, I don't like this, you come back with, I love this, I love this. It doesn't even have to be the same thing. You're just responding to whatever no statement you make with 2 positive statements. It's very easy. You have to be very aggressive with it. It has to be 2. No thinking. It's just easy. I hate that. I love this. I love this. You can even use pronouns. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. Now think about it. If you use this 2 for 1 technique, at the end of the day, you will have ensured that 66% of the things that you thought and said were positive. 2 for 1. When you catch yourself saying, I'm confused, I understand. I don't like this. I love this. I love this. I don't want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. 66% of the time, which of course is more than 50%. And guess what's going to happen? If 66% of the time you're speaking life into your existence, you're talking about what you want, guess what? Your experience will match that. So this weekend, when I was at the Dallas I Am event, I stayed at an Airbnb. And the people who were at this Airbnb, they were just super, super nice people, really cool. And they had a cat. And they had a cat that would come into my room and would bond with me and just very friendly. It was a very dog-acting cat. So one of the things that's happened since then is that that cat really kind of got into my perspective. I've really been thinking about cats since then. So one of the things I recognized when I returned home yesterday was that at my front door, there's a picture of a lion. And when I moved into this house on March 1st of 2019, that lion was a very important part of the symbolism I wanted in this home because it represents being the king of the jungle. It represents being the king of your experience. It represents roaring into life and finding a way to just take advantage of everything that's in front of you. Last night I was driving and on the radio they said, hey, at 10 o'clock tonight, be sure to tune in to a 1-hour special where Beyonce's going to give you the behind the scenes of how she came up with the music for The Lion King. So I thought about the fact that what we're doing right here, this be your own bank movement, developing this skill of being able to participate in a $5.3 trillion market, it's kind of lionic. We're literally taking steps to become the king of our jungle. We're literally putting ourselves in a position where we can roar into a new abundance level. And by walking away and touching 1 million families, we really have an opportunity to be the king of our families, to be the king of our communities, the king of our social groups, the king of our work groups. So this lion to me is a very, very important symbol to me personally, but it really to me represents where we are and what we're doing as a movement. So I took the liberty of taking the word lion and thinking about some concepts that I think are relevant to where we are right now on September 17th, 2019. So let's take the word lion and let's think about some words that can acrostically reflect what we need to focus on as we continue to take our trading to the next level, as we continue to take our mindset to the next level, as we continue to have a relationship with the markets, as we continue to have a relationship with our money. So lion is spelled L-I-O-N. So let's take that L. To me, L stands for learn. Mr. Rogers put a very, very, very powerful post today in one or both of our groups. And it said, it's so important that you recognize that this is an educational platform. The I Am Academy was renamed to I Am Academy so we could focus on the academy. We can focus on the academic piece. We can focus on the fact that we're here to learn a skill. So the L in lion stands for learn. What are we learning? We're learning to do something that's a little bit above and beyond what we may have done in the past. If we think about our parents, if we think about our grandparents, if we think about the last 2 generations, we've gotten away from putting money away and we focused on spending. So rather than focus on spending, let's instead focus on that I standing for invest. Because if we invest, we have the ability to be able to spend more. So L stands for learn. I stands for investing. We're learning to invest in a $5.3 trillion a day market, and when we include cryptocurrency, it's an $11 trillion market a day, and we are learning to invest. O stands for optimistic. Confusion is the opposite of optimistic. Clarity, understanding. I am a master trader. All of my trades end in profit. We start every one of our trading sessions with that by design because it's optimistic. L stands for learn. I stands for invest. O stands for optimistic. What does the N stand for? The N stands for two things. We're going to take the N word and make it positive. N stands for next level, because we are absolutely taking our mindset to the next level. And N stands for non-negotiable, because now that we're here, that's it. There's no going back. I yelled at a young lady in basketball practice last week because she stopped a few steps before the end of the drill. And I said, nope, that's not going. And I made her run 2 extra times because I said, look, I need you to run all the way through the drill, because what if I need you in the 4th quarter? You might stop on me. What if I need you if somebody goes down? You might give me less than what you have. You run all the way through my drill. It is non-negotiable for you to stop before you finish my drill. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to drill ourselves into learning this information and putting ourselves in the best position to get to the other side of wealth and abundance. And at this point, it's non-negotiable. L stands for learn. I stands for invest. O stands for optimistic. N stands for next level and non-negotiable. Now watch this. The picture that I can see in my peripheral vision is a picture of a lion, a male lion with a big mane. It is the king of the jungle. But have you ever wondered why he's called the king of the jungle? How about I tell you? Because I'm an Animal Planet nerd. The reason why he's called the king of the jungle is because he don't do nothing. You know why he doesn't do anything? Because guess who does the hunting? The lioness. The lioness does the hunting. So brothers, if I could keep it real for a second, I was raised by a single mother and I'm raising 3 daughters. So I understand and appreciate the power of a woman, the power of feminine energy. I get it. I understand it. I bow down to it. I respect it. In order for me to be the king of the jungle, the lioness has to go out there and hunt. Do you not see that Mr. Gerald D. Rogers and Dr. Craig Bythewood benefit because Miss Tasha M. Dyer goes out there and hunts? She hunts for the best indicator. She hunts for the best trade. We all eat because she is a lioness and she's hunting. She's always on the hunt. And I appreciate her for what she does. So me being the dude that's going to punk out all men, and yes, I do watch Oprah, I am going to recognize that it ain't even about the lion. It's about the lioness. So if it's going to be about the lioness, we got to add 3 more letters. L is for learn. I is for invest. O is for optimistic. N is for next level and non-negotiable. But now let's add the E, the S, and the S, because it's all about the lioness. E and S go together. And E and S stands for what you and I are learning by participating in this movement. You and I are learning an exceptional skill. Do you realize that we just learned how we can take everything we've learned in the past months from the 15-minute time frame, and now we can put it on the 1 hour or the 4 hour? That simply means that we've increased our ability to be able to make money. We've increased our ability to be able to increase our pip count. That's an exceptional skill. L stands for learn. I stands for invest. O stands for optimistic. N stands for next level and non-negotiable. ES stands for exceptional skill. So as we pay tribute to this lioness, as we pay tribute to this feminine energy that goes out there and hunts for what we men need, they hunt for the comfort. They hunt for the motivation. They hunt for the ability to make us feel whole. I understand and respect that. So the lioness stands for Lioness, and there's one more S. And this S is so important to who we are and why we are here. This S is so important to what the Be Your Own Bank movement is. This S is so important to what females do in our lives. Can you imagine what a single mom had to do to get me to the place that I am? Can you imagine what your mother did to put you where you are? Can you imagine, fellas, the women in your life that make the sacrifice to do what it is that you want to do? No S is not sacrifice, because that word is heavy. The second S stands for selflessness. Selflessness. When we have the ability to be able to put others first, we, by design, have the ability to capture the power of the universe and propel ourselves to higher and higher heights. Of course, we have to care about ourselves. Flew twice this weekend. And each time they said the same thing. In the event of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first and then help others. So we're here to develop our skill. That's why it's the last S. But once we develop our skill, once we put on our abundance oxygen, once we walk in our economic swag, now we have the ability to be able to help others, to take this message to 1 million families, to help those individuals around us, to teach our children how to invest in a $11 trillion industry. L stands for learn, I stands for invest, O stands for optimistic, N stands for next level and non-negotiableness, E stands for exceptional, S stands for skill, S stands for selflessness. Let's take on the image and the power and the strength of the lion. And let's be kings of this information. And let's continue to hunt. And let's put ourselves in the position we need to take ourselves to all of our goals, to all of our desires, starting with each rectangle and getting to the point of touching 1 million families through this vehicle and through our selflessness and through our understanding of economic empowerment. This has been a talk with the Finance Doctor. Thank you so much. And I would now turn this call back over to our host or hostess.
Oh my goodness. Lord, Lord, Lord. I am so blessed to have such stellar business partners and colleagues. Wow. If I could spell wow, I would have to say wow and spell it backwards. W-O-W. Spell it forward. W-O-W. Folks, I believe and I know it. This is absolutely, we have to make sure that our friends, neighbors, and relatives are able to be exposed to this level of heartfelt information. Folks, if you are blessed, if you have received something tonight from the Trade Whisperer and the Finance Doctor, please, applaud them, salute them, give them a 555 in the chat. I'm just wow. Wow. Man, folks, I'm so ready. I'm so fired up right now. I'm literally ready to charge hell with a water pistol. Right? I'm ready to charge hell with a water pistol because I'm on fire and we're ready to change communities. We're ready to change lives. We're ready to change families. The lion and the lioness, they go hand in hand. Man, folks, we need you to do us a favor. We need to make sure you come back with us at 5 a.m. in the morning and at 9 a.m. And then we need to make sure that you're dropping this information in the email with the vibrato chat. We're doing a lot of rebranding, so I have to recalibrate my brain. But listen, This is why we are going to be able to accomplish and impact lives, because obviously the individuals who have shared with you this evening, they're doing it because God has called them to do this, and they're being selflessness and ensuring and having an impact. And this is tremendously humble to know that all of us collectively, you know, this is not about an individual. This is about us, the collective conscious moving together. But can you imagine if we're all unified in our efforts and our thought process? Psalms 133 says, where there is unity, there is a commanded blessing. And you are being commanded to change and rewrite the narrative in your generation, your family, your community, because you made a decision and your power of your yes. So I want you to embrace the fact that you said yes. I want you to embrace the fact that you're willing to endure the process. I want you to embrace the fact that you've been called to lead individuals, because we are pouring, we're sharing, we're simply here to equip you, to expand you, to empower you. Then we're here to exit so that we can create a void. So over the next 90 to 120 days, yes, some of you will be sharing this information as we expand across the globe. And it's only going to happen with each and every one of you taking ownership of your own personal responsibility to be selfless with this information. So it's not even about trying to get anyone to do anything. It's about understanding that now we have the ability and the opportunity to create true liberation in every aspect of our lives, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional, physical, psychological. This is what we've been called to. So with that being said, folks, I am absolutely excited about you. I salute you. We thank you for allowing us to give you this impartation. And our job is just beginning, because greater works shall you do. Greater works shall you do. What we've started, and in order for it to go, that means you have to grow with it and take it to the next dimension. So with that being said, folks, we will see you at 5 a.m. Just a quick reminder, this coming Saturday, Tallahassee, Florida, September the 21st, you're going to get an opportunity to sit at the feet of the trade whisperer herself, and you'll get the dynamic of understanding. So you need to make sure, if you're in driving distance, walking distance, skateboarding, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure your face is in a place that you have representation. 12 p.m., September the 21st, go to the bylbchallenge.net website and get registered. You want to register online. You want to make sure that you take advantage of. Then, November the 2nd, it's going to be in Clearwater, Florida. Our leadership development, my personal mentor, my coach, Mr. C. Thomas Gambrell, will be coming all the way in from New York, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yes, 12 hours of everything that you ever desired and needed to execute. And then you're going to also be able to sit at the feet of the finance doctor himself, Dr. Craig Bythewood, as well as the trade whisperer. 8 hours. We're preparing you for 2020. We want to make sure that your vision is correct, that your implementation, so word for word and step for step on how to take advantage and expand your horizon and come to a better understanding. November the 2nd, bylbchallenge.net. Take advantage of the early bird registration. I can assure you that where we're headed, all of us walking in synergistic energy, blending our efforts and our collective thoughts together, we will impact 1 million families. So with that being said, God bless. Have a wonderful evening. And if it be the Lord's will, we'll see you at 5 a.m. Bring someone, share this information. We love you. God bless, and have a wonderful evening. And as we're leaving this call, if you're excited about you being your own bank, I want you to end this call with a 777 in the chat, because it's complete, it's finished, and now you have the responsibility to duplicate and share this information. God bless, and this will officially conclude this call.